Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Pulse podcast by Uplift Dawah. I am your host, Brother Yusuf Forsami. And today we have one of my close brothers and friends, Brother Vernon, with us, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi kareem. And he will be sharing with us his journey to Islam. And so stay with us, inshallah, grab some tea, and let's get started. Bismillah. Brother Vernon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Brother Hamza. Oh, pardon.
Brother
Yusuf, sorry.
You've been hanging around with Hamza a little too much.
Yeah, man, I've been spending too much time with you brothers. You know, it's just all Muhammad's and it's just a lot. brother Hamza. Yeah, that's what I gotta start calling you now, I guess.
That's it, man.
Okay.
Since Hamza is my close brother, alhamdulillah, you can definitely call me that. I'm good.
Okay.
Welcome again to the podcast. We talked about doing this for a while now. And alhamdulillah, we are finally here and we get to do the podcast.
Alhamdulillah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I fasted today. It's a blessing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
man. That's awesome. This is something that I need to do. Get into that fasting rhythm, you know. Alhamdulillah. So the first question that I want to ask you, Brother Vernon, is take me back to your childhood, where you grew up, and what kind of environment did you grow up in?
So originally I'm from Alexandria, Virginia. That's an area which is right outside of Washington, D.C. Well, technically I was born in Santa Monica, California. Then me and my mom moved to Alexandria when I was very young. And I basically grew up an only child. None of my siblings, which are my half siblings, grew up with me. And had a normal childhood. It was just me and my mom. You know, she always worked real hard. She had really good values, still does to this day. And had a pretty normal life for what it's worth. Nothing too traumatic, nothing too crazy. You know, just me and my mom though. So
that's fantastic. What was it like in your high school? I remember when I went to high school, it was a very interesting place. It was always like groups and, differentiated. The jocks were hanging out together, the cool kids, and there were the foreigners.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I, given the fact that I was a foreigner and I didn't speak English a lot, I used to hang out with the foreigners all the time. Especially the people like Somali people, who, which is where I'm from. I used to hang around with them because I didn't speak English well.
Mm-hmm.
But this was always segregated, and it was segregated like a chosen segregated. People choose where they want to sit at.
Mm-hmm.
The geeks sat with the geeks, you know. The jocks sat with the jocks. Then there was everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And but everybody wanted to be with the jocks because the jocks were seen to be cool.
Right.
Which group did you hang out with when you were growing up in high school?
So I would definitely say that I was a part of the jock group because I was a wrestler in high school. Ended up, being an all-state wrestler. So, by the time I was a senior, I had a little bit of swagger about me and respected amongst my peers as a decent wrestler.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I hung out with the jocks, but everybody was kind of like intermingled into that jock group. So if you know anything about the Alexandria, Virginia area, I think from my experience living in the United States and where I've been, that's probably the most diverse area I've ever been to. So like we had Muslims, Jews, Christians, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, everything. So it was just a very diverse group, and everybody was really cool with each other. But yeah, you did have your kind of like sects of people who were hanging with one another. But yeah, our group was jocks of all race, colors, and creeds.
Yeah, if you wanted to be cool, you kind of had to hang around with the jocks. I remember that, and it was always interesting to me that how that was all segregated. But in high school, and especially starts with high school, people experiment. They try different things. You get the goths, people, people who wear like the the black makeups on their face and they wear black clothes and stuff like that. That was a culture, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there are different cultures, people who, hang out with the sweet smokers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there was different people and doing different things and joining different cultures and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say you were free from all of that and you didn't hang out with any of those crews and things like that, and you just kind of did your own thing? And were you intermingled with other cultures growing up?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So if you ask anybody that grew up with me, they will probably call me, my barber to this day, he always calls me, Vernon's the guy that went through all of the phases. Like I had so many phases. Like in middle school, I was the skateboarder, the rebel, like got introduced to like that stuff that you were talking about, and then in high school, like I stayed in sports full time all year round.
Yeah.
But like
you were the jock.
I was the jock, but I was always like the wild jock too. You know what I mean? So like I was always kind of like at the cusp of society, like always within its confines, but I was just always kind of off doing my own thing. Like if I had to describe myself, maybe like anyone in the sports realm that a lot of people could recall, probably Dennis Rodman. I was probably like I would equate myself to like Dennis Rodman in my character.
Yeah, I just got an image of Dennis Rodman as you said that.
Yeah,
he was wild.
Yeah, I had blonde hair and everything. Like
you did?
Yeah, I really wanted to be just like him. Yeah.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
That is intriguing. I'd love to see you going to high school, living that life. Is just to see the picture of that. It'd be very interesting because the person that I know now is so different. It'd be interesting to see, just to reflect on that. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'll have to show you some pictures.
Yeah, please do. If you get a chance, please do share that with me, inshallah. Now, coming from high school, which college did you go to?
So I went to Shippensburg University.
How was that like?
It was wonderful. That's where I really felt like I kind of had my first phase of like exiting my old self and then coming into new. Although I was still pretty wild, I just took that me going to college out of state as like a fresh start because I wasn't attached to anyone from high school. I didn't know anybody going into there, and I felt like I could have like a total rebranding of like my identity. So it was a great experience. It was a school that's like built into like this mountain in Pennsylvania, so like it's pretty rural, and fun things happen when you're in rural college country.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting things. Yeah.
May I ask?
Oh man, I don't know if you or your listeners would want to know. I did have some cow tipping stories, stuff like that. Yeah, me and my freshman year, I used to hang out with even in college. Like I had phases too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you were hanging out with different people, different kinds, different cultures, all of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think I did a lot of that too. Like these phases and things like that was because, I'm trying to figure myself out.
Right.
Trying to align with people that I felt were right for me at the time.
Yeah.
And not really caring too much because I always looked at it as like trial and error. It's like, I'm not always going to be this way. So like, let me just figure it out. Like I'd rather make a story than not try it at all and then wish that I did, so.
Right. I mean, what a beautiful thing to do is to just check out different cultures and be able to feel like you're one of them, and learn all the good and take the good with it, and leave the bad. So that's pretty cool. What was some of the highlights of going to college?
Oh man, there's a ton. I think going to college really taught me how to be an adult, at least at like the very like rudimentary level. It gives you time to really adapt into like what acting like and like what acting like an adult is like.
It gives you responsibility.
Exactly. And going to college, you get education, and then you're able to have different levels of conversations with different kinds of people. More experiences that you're able to talk about. But in regards to highlights, I joined a fraternity, a remarkable fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. Where I gained a lot of like leadership experience. I was the chapter president, so I was able to, really do a lot for the chapter. Like our chapter was dying. Like we really didn't have consistent numbers each year. And like once I became the president, like that was the first year that we were able to like actually reactivate our chapter.
Wow.
So it was nice. And I made a lot of really good friendships, like people that I still call my brothers to this day. Like we talk to each other every day.
Wow.
but yeah, a ton of growth, and a lot of good times, good memories, good stories, that helped me realize that, this way of life that I'm living now is truly the best life that I've ever lived.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you have something to contrast it to.
Correct.
That's amazing. Given you are an African American living in the United States with all of the craziness that's going on, what are some things that you have learned within the last maybe 5 to 10 years about being Black and living in the United States, and then going to a rural college like you went?
Yeah. So my answer is probably.
I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
But you can choose.
But it's totally fine. No, I'm totally comfortable answering. So like my experience was always quite different. Like I've always grew up around every single, like my goal growing up was I just wanted to be a very well-rounded person, and I learned that at a young age. So I've always tried to surround myself with every single group of people that I possibly could, because I felt like if I did that in my youth, by the time I got older and I got into like business situations, I could have familiarity with people. I understood a little bit of culture and things like that. So obviously it's rough, because we suffer from like post-traumatic slave disorder. So a lot of like the things that we deal with in our culture and some of the things that like society sees is bad in us, today is a lot because of the circumstances that we've been put under. And unfortunately, we haven't really had the time to like heal. We haven't really, it's like people hurting people. And it's just a whole lot of bad cycles that, it's just going to take years for us to break. Because when you think about it, right, like I'm only the second person in my entire family lineage. Like, let's go back to, Adam. In my very first, I'm the second human born in the United States that was given civil rights. My mom was the first.
Wow.
I'm only like the fourth or fifth human being in my lineage that was free from slavery. So like 3 to 4 humans ago, we were slaves.
Yeah.
Which is a wild thought. So I don't think that people put that into perspective enough. So a lot of the times, like when people see things about our culture, they have to just understand that like you have to be patient with us because we've just been suffering for years. And that's kind of been my experience. However, I've really tried to make sure that I try to not paint a broad brush when it comes to how I view others. And I try to give everybody equal opportunity. And I think that that's personally helped me a lot because now there's not as much of a burden on my shoulders when it comes to the interactions and the relationships I make with other people. So as long as you treat me with respect, I'll always leave with respect. And I think that 99.99% of the relationships that I've made have been very healthy with basically anyone of any race, color, creed, or class, or gender identity, all of that. So yeah.
When it comes to the post-traumatic disorder that is prevalent within the community, Black community, specifically African American community, someone who is from Somalia, who has seen civil war, and people dying, people being killed, you experienced that as well. So in your eyes, what is the solution? How do we, and this is a big question.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to have the answer, but just your opinion. What do you think is the solution to get the Black community from, or heal them from this trauma, so that they don't pass it to the next generations? How can we end that? Or is it even possible?
I definitely think it's possible, but you gotta understand, like we're playing from behind, like we're playing from like hundreds of years of, not even being considered like a full human being with a vote.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
So I just think time is going to heal all wounds. And I think that at least with my generation, although, no generation is perfect and we're always under a lot of scrutiny because of like maybe how extreme we may sound in things that we say and do and our actions. But this is the first generation of Black people where like I'm really seeing like a lot of entrepreneurship. And I think a lot of us too are really I think we've learned. So now I think we believe a little bit more in the nuclear family. Like we want to actually like marry and have kids and create generational wealth. Like that's a big term that you hear in the Black community, is generational wealth and breaking curses, things like that. So I think our head is in the right place, and it's probably going to take a couple more generations of, us staying diligent on that and just trying to make sure that like we're not leading ourselves in the wrong direction by trying to, continue to do the things that have hurt us for so long, spending money on things that depreciate in value as soon as you drive it off the lot, buying clothes from a company that if the CEO were to walk past you on the street, he wouldn't even look your direction. So I think that we're straying away from that slowly but surely. And I think that our values are definitely kind of tailored towards learning from our parents' mistakes. Because I didn't grow up with a father, and I don't know how much I think that Islam is a huge part of it. But I've always like said to myself, like, I want to be a dad, like I really want to be in my children's lives. And Islam is definitely like it solidified that, So yeah, I think that a lot of us are really learning from our parents.
Yes. That's I really believe that the only way to find a solution to any problem is to recognize that problem really exists. Once every generation has to be aware that this trauma does exist and that they do carry it, whether they know it or not, and they have to find a way to resolve that issue or heal from that issue. If we keep going without recognizing that this trauma exists within us, and that we, whether we know it or not, are passing it on in how we deal with other people in the next generation, in our kids. I think this is going to be important to recognize that problem exists and find solutions for it. As you said, this takes me to the next thing. When you first came in contact, when did you first came in contact with Islam?
Oh, so I was introduced to like Muslim people when I was in grade school. So like they've always been around me. There's a really big Muslim population in Alexandria, Virginia. So I've always seen them. I've always interacted with them. Many of them were my best friends or really, really close associates growing up all the way through high school, even through college as well. But I did not take any time to learn anything about Islam at all. Did not pry, ask any questions. Just didn't really I didn't have any interest in learning anything about Islam as a religion, but I've always been around them.
That's awesome. And when was the first time you actually said, you know what, I should look into this?
So I think that happened after I graduated college. I think the seed may have been planted in college, not by anyone in particular, but maybe just due to my own interest in wanting to see what else was out there, because I think that people do themselves a disservice by not seeing other things, just out of curiosity, not even that you have to have any interest in even leaving a certain religion or joining another one. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to look into it. So in college, I actually started like reading the Bible like every day. And, that was great. I felt like I was learning a lot about Christianity. I was becoming like more like not just spiritual to where I was just kind of praying on my own, but like religious. Even though I wasn't practicing at all, like my actions totally went opposite of like basically not opposite. I'm not the worst person in the world, but I still was sinning, vehemently. And so that's kind of when I first became a little bit more religiously conscious. But then I think once I met my long lost brother and ended up moving to Seattle, and I tell you this, the story of my Shahada started when it was a protest during like the whole like CHOP era when the police had left and all that stuff, and and everybody was like protesting like crazy.
Yeah.
One of the protests, a frat brother of mine actually sent to me, and it was in Tukwila at Abu Bakr, and he sent me the flyer, and I saw that the march started at the masjid, and I'm like, oh snap, I need to go to this.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. It was just like a fire.
In case people don't know what a masjid is, it's a mosque.
Yeah, exactly.
In Tukwila. And that's where the rally was actually starting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so when I saw that it started there on the flyer, I'm like, you know what? I think this is a sign. And I think a little bit before that, I was just kind of like just seeing inconsistencies with like Christianity that just kind of was like, you know, and mind you, I'm not super well read in Christianity by any means, but there was just certain things that I had seen when it came to just like the community. And I'm not trying to put down any Christians or anything. All due respect to all religions,
course,
you know,
always.
all due respect. But just sharing my personal experience and my personal views. You know, I don't want to influence anyone to you know. But anyway, you know, I was just seeing things. I was like, you know what, like, I think I just kind of want to see. I always kind of looked at like Islam as like, I feel like that's probably the religion of my people, you know, like, you know, I just felt like it. I felt like somehow for some reason I would probably connect with it more. And not having any information on Islam at all, I reached out to you guys on Facebook, and that's basically all she wrote from there, you know?
So I remember I got a call from, I think it was Hamza.
Okay.
And Hamza told me, hey, there's someone that wants to know about Islam. And I happen to be someone that loves to explain Islam to people. And so when people want to know more about Islam, usually I get a call. And so that's what happened is Hamza gave me a call, and he said that there's a brother that wants to know more about Islam. And that's when we started to actually have a conversation. And then that kind of led to you actually accepting this way of life, and choosing to submit your will to the Creator, the will of the Creator, which is what Islam means.
Yeah,
is submitting your will to the will of Allah. And Allah is just the Arabic word for the one and only true Creator of the heavens and the earth. People get confused with words, right? But in reality, when you speak about Allah, it's just the word for the one who created everything. Now, if you believe that there's only one Creator who created everything, no matter what name you call him, we're speaking about the same one.
Yeah.
You know, and in Spanish they call him Dios, right? In English they call him God. In Arabic they call him Allah. In the Christian Bible that is written in Arabic, the word for God is Allah. In the Christian Bible, written in the language of Arabic, the name for God in Arabic in the Bible is Allah, which shows you it's not some different God.
Right.
It is exactly the same God, the one who created all things. And so, you know, we could easily say the Creator of the heavens and the earth, and we would be talking about the same one, right? And this is the same Abrahamic God. This is Moses believed in that one true Creator. Jesus believed in that one true Creator. Christians believe in that one true Creator, and Muslims believe in that one true Creator. And I remember once all of that was broken down to you, you felt like this is exactly what I was missing. And what was that about that conversation that made you feel that?
Yeah. So I mean, growing up, and I've told you this before too, that like my entire life, you know, you get taught to like pray, you get taught about like, you know, you're just kind of like told like you're a Christian, you know what I mean? But growing up, whenever I prayed, I always just prayed like directly to God. Like that was just kind of how I always looked at prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And when people would kind of say like, in Jesus' name, amen, and stuff like that, I just kind of thought that was just like it's better if you say it, like it's kind of like a plus if you do it. But I didn't know really anything about how Christians view Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know anything,
Mm-hmm.
but every time I prayed, it was just always straight to Allah, always straight to God, directly. And then the more I learned like about like the Christian view of like Jesus, I'm like, and I kind of learned a little bit about that like in college. And I was always saying to myself, like, that just does not make sense to me. Like that it just in my heart, it just made me feel really uncomfortable. And so like I still called myself a Christian because I didn't know any better, but I was like, I'm Christian, but I'm just kind of, this is like my own thing, like this is like I'm doing Christianity my way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I'm still a Christian, but I just pray to God. The whole Jesus thing, I don't really, and this is before I didn't even know that he was considered a like I didn't know anything, so I was just confused. And when you had that conversation with me, everything that you said was exactly how I viewed religion should be practiced and what I thought religion. Yeah, basically what I viewed it to be, how I viewed it to be practiced, and how I thought it should be practiced. So it made perfect sense to me.
That's awesome. And some of the conversations we had, if I can recall it right, was that we Muslims believe that Jesus was a mighty prophet of God, that his mother is mentioned in the Quran and has a whole chapter about her and named after her in the Quran. Mary, who we call Maryam, is told to us about her in the Quran, and she is very high among 4 other women who was chosen by God as the honored woman. She's one of those, and she is the top of that line. Very interestingly, Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, who we love dearly, his mother is not mentioned there, but yet Jesus's mother was mentioned there. We believe that she gave birth to Jesus, and she was not touched by anyone, and she was chaste. So the Virgin Mary, she was a virgin and she gave birth to him miraculously. We Muslims believe that. We believe that he did many miracles, including bringing people from the dead with Allah's permission, healing the leopard, and all of these things. Many miracles that many prophets have done. All of them have done it because Allah, God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, permitted them to do these things. And prophecies and miracles were ways to kind of help people realize that these people were indeed from the creator himself, and these were signs that was given to them, so that they understand that there's something that is metaphysical at works here. This is something that human beings cannot do, and that's what miracles are. And so we believe that there's only one creator worthy of worship, and that there is no partners, there's no associations with him. He does not need any help. He can do everything by himself without any help. He says be, and things just come out of his will and power. And this is who we believe Allah is. He creates everything and sustains everything. Everything depends on him, while he depends on none. He does not die. He's not subject to death. And he is the ever living, the beginning. He will always be there at the end by himself, while every creation will be gone. He will be the only one left. He has sent prophets from the time of Adam, may peace be upon him, all the way to Muhammad, and they called people to the same central message, which was to go back to God and worship God alone without any partners or associations, not to worship their kings, not to worship their prophets, not to worship anything else except Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, without any intermediaries. To worship him directly because he can hear us and he's closer to us than our jugular veins. He knows what we are thinking before we even think it. That's who we worship. That's Allah. And one of the worst things you can do in Islam is called shirk. And shirk is to associate partners with the creator of the heavens and the earth. Imagine it's like, your mother who raised you all of this time. You say, you know what, mom, there's another mom that I'm going to give the same credit to, even though you raised me and you took care of me all of my life and you continue to take care of me, I'm going to now put another person, another woman, and I'm going to give her the same credit as you. That wouldn't be fair to her. And same thing with God. You cannot do that. You cannot associate God with anybody else. So worship is only directed to God alone.
Right.
And so that's some of the things that I've broke down. Now, most people don't really know that we believe in all of these things about Christianity.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the conversations you and I had is you're wearing this thobe.
Let's talk about it.
Break down for me what is the relevance of this thobe, and where do we see this thobe often?
Oh, you see it a lot more often than you think that you do.
Yeah.
Especially if your eyes are closed to
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And so, yeah, man, like if you go on Google, which you instructed me to do.
Yes.
You've shown me this.
Yes.
When you go on Google and you type in, the commercialized production of what Jesus Christ is said to be.
Yes.
You see him.
Now, why do you say the commercialized so that people can actually understand? Because some people don't even know this. Why do you say the commercialized version of Jesus?
So with my human knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not the most brilliant man in the world. It just doesn't make sense for, a white male with blue eyes, curly golden hair, that does not, it never made sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me now, nor will I ever think that it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Especially when the text in the Bible says otherwise as well, and I'm sure that you could elaborate on that way more than I ever could, but yeah, that's I had to be careful and make sure that I'm trying to make sure that I'm always respectful with my speech,
always.
But that's the commercialized version of what Jesus Christ is said to be, because we're not even supposed to know what he looks like.
Yeah. And nobody does.
Yeah.
There's a description, like Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. There's a description of him in the narrations that are given to us from his companions and so forth. But there are no pictures. And same thing with all of the other prophets. For Muslims, this is a no-no area. You cannot draw the prophet's pictures. And there's many reasons to this, but one of the reasons is that the same thing that happened to Jesus is what's going to happen to Prophet Muhammad if they do it.
Yeah.
You see, and I think most of the pictures, and I could be wrong, but most of the pictures that are online are mostly from movies who someone acted the part of Jesus. They actually took that in a lot of the pictures you see on Google. They took that guy who acted in the part of Jesus. He was in the movie, he was acting Jesus with the long hair and white and so forth. But he is taken as the official picture, not official, but unofficial picture of Jesus.
Yeah.
And it just kept going and people kept using it and so forth. And so even in Islam, it's not permitted to draw the pictures of prophet. And that is including Jesus, Moses.
Yeah. And
Abraham.
people need to know that.
People don't know that.
I think people only think that you just can't draw a picture of Muhammad. No, it's any prophet.
It's any prophet.
And when you it's stuff like that. When you explain that type of like logic to me. I'm like, this makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, this is brilliant.
It's true.
It's just brilliant.
It's how we think as human beings. We take images and it's stuck on us.
Mhm.
That's why when you make a movie, even like Muslims who make movies
Mhm.
and they want to include something about the prophet, they'll cover the person's
Mhm.
face.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to show images of that, because as human beings, that image is captured, and whenever
Mhm.
the name is mentioned, that image will always come up.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I would think that it probably goes back farther than that, because I think that the image of Jesus was probably, I'm pretty sure, now my knowledge is limited on that, but I think that it kind of goes back to it being a part of like the Romans. And I think that they probably had some influence on that, because then like Christianity become like a really, really like it was really influenced by like European, like then it become like a Roman, like European religion mainly at a certain point in time.
Right, it did. And had a lot to do, I believe, with Paul. Paul kind of went to the Gentiles, even though the Bible, it says that Jesus himself says, according to the Bible, that he was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. Now, this is clear in the Bible. But Paul said, no, that has changed now, that I am supposed to go ahead and tell this message, take this message to the Gentiles, which is everyone else who is not a Jew. And so to the Romans and so forth, he took it all of those places. And it was the Pauline, really, books that made up most of the gospel that we have now. And the books that are canonized, most of the books, a lot of the books, majority of the books, I would say, is probably his books, right? And so he kind of took that out there, and then of course at some point it became the religion of the kingdom. I think in Constantine, I could be wrong, but it became the religion of that time. So it flourished at that time.
Yeah. I've heard there are some people, some brothers that I've met that have this whole theory, and like they have like an idea of like who Jesus was supposed to be modeled after. I don't know the name. I never really got too deep in it. I've always kind of kept it at like a high level for the most part. But yeah, still, regardless, it just kind of goes against.
And the reason why we started to talk about the image is because you were saying when you go to Google, and I had to clarify that.
Yeah.
Continue from there.
So if you go on Google, that commercialized version of what Jesus Christ is said to look like. I want anyone who's watching this to go on Google and look at that image.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge, because he'll more likely than not, 9 times out of 10, be wearing something very, very similar to what I'm wearing right now.
This is actually true.
Yeah, and oftentimes he might wear I've seen some pictures where he's wearing like a red cloth band around it. But at its core,
it's the one piece, long thobe. And sometimes he has the whole arm, sometimes it has short arm. But it's a one piece, just like the one you're wearing right now. But it's interesting to those who are ignorant to this truth. They think this is foreign or something like that. But it's not. Even Jesus himself was wearing it, which takes me to another thing. What about the hijab that a lot of Muslims are wearing?
Oh yeah. Now I challenge you to look up another image. Look up Jesus's mother.
The picture that they claim to be.
The picture that they claim to be Jesus's mother.
Yes. In the Catholic churches, they have this picture everywhere. What is she wearing?
What seems to be a hijab.
What seems to be a hijab. Because she's covered all the way out here. Just like the Muslim woman does. And you could say that because Mary is such a high figure in Islam, that she's a role model to all of the Muslim women.
Wow. That's the first time you've even said that to me. That's interesting.
That's the first time I said that. But I mean, that's who they are. That's who their role model is. They are following and modeling themselves according to that. What's interesting is if you look back 100 years, even in Britain and so forth, you will see that the women were covered. In the Bible, it says that women should go to church covered. You should cover your hair or shave your hair.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says in the Bible.
Yeah.
But you see, society sometimes changes people, and it changes traditions.
Yeah.
You see, society has the power to do that. And usually those who are driving society are not, wanting to preserve religious traditions. And so why do you think that changed? Why do you think there's a shift that this beautiful tradition of covering your hair when you go in front of God in the church? Why do you think it changed?
Well, I think at the first level, it's just immediate rebellion. You know, when you have to live by a strict structure, you tend to rebel. I can't speak for myself because I wasn't born Muslim or born in like a Christian household where like where I was given like a ton of rules. But even let's take the religion away from it. People who just grow up in very, very strict households tend to be the total opposite of what their parents, like raised them to be.
Very true.
So I think that, I just think that when given that set of rules, you kind of want to rebel. And then I think on the second level, free will kind of took over, and people were pursuing what their idea of free will was. And then it ultimately became popularized to become more nude with time, because even in the 50s, or I think it was like the 2030s, women couldn't even go to the beach. Like in the United States, women couldn't even go to the beach and like show any type of midriff or anything past their ankle, or they would get a fine.
Yes.
So this is like what we're seeing today is very, very, very new across the globe. Like, that this was not normal at all.
Was not normal.
Not even in the United States. And we were always considered the progressives. So
yeah. So one of the things you mentioned to me that really attracted you to Islam was the fact that Muslims police themselves.
Yeah.
And that there are rules and principles that has to be protected in Islam. And it's a guidance for mankind. And when you follow those guidances, it perfects your humanity in reality. What were some of what was that the case for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So like, just to give like a little context, like as soon as I graduated high school, I was always for 4 years a high school wrestler that, basically did wrestling practice every single day. Went to college and I didn't wrestle. And so then I found discipline and weight training all of the time. And so that's kind of like what I became known for in college. Like, oh yeah, Vernon's going to be in the gym. And so then like, once I entered this new phase in my life where I kind of wanted to like leave those things behind, and kind of, because the thing was like, I was a much different person in college than I am now. But like, I always saw myself like being like, I guess back in the day, I would say like a good Christian man, like just, just very, very, what's the word? Clean cut, respectful, smart, educated, disciplined, just a whole reputation change for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, I'm kind of losing track of where I was, what the original question was, because
the discipline and the discipline.
Yeah. So when I kind of saw from the outside looking in before I even met you, I always just kind of saw like, man, Muslims, like they don't play, like they are really serious about their religion. Like they do not eat pork. Like they are really out here fasting, like they're
no alcohol.
Yeah. No alcohol, no drugs. Like, and so, so then, no fornication. And so like, so I'm like, man, like, I've always kind of like, once I graduated from college, I've yearned to be kind of like where I'm at in life now.
Yeah.
And we'll even get into like what my life has kind of turned into since becoming a Muslim, because even to this day, it still doesn't make sense. Like I became a Muslim like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And it literally blows my mind how much growth and like how much like actual success like I've been experiencing. It does not make sense. It has been the wildest, in the best way possible, the wildest thing I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I love the discipline.
Some people would say that you're crazy. How can you look for such a discipline like praying 5 times a day, staying away from alcohol, not sleeping with women and fornicating and drinking alcohol and partying with alcohol and all kinds of stuff and getting drunk and sleeping around, all these kinds of things? You leave all of that behind for praying like 5 times a day and focused and taking care of yourself. And what would you say to those people who say this is insane?
I would say that
respectfully.
Of course. I would say that I don't even think I can explain it until you try it. And I kind of, when people have asked me that question, I've always given them the background story of like the day or two after I took my shahada, and then me and my friends went out and I gave up all those things, like gave up drinking and smoking, wearing gold and stuff. Like, remember that story I told you?
Yeah.
And I just had that moment where I realized like I just gave up like a little bit, and then I just got that like that powerful moment that happened to me. So I always kind of share that story with them. But man, like in regards
can you share that now?
Of course. Yeah. So it was probably like two or 3 days after I took my shahada, or maybe like just the day after. My friends actually invited me to a bar. And so mind you, like I didn't drink or didn't smoke or anything. Like I was like, okay, if I'm becoming a Muslim, like I'm going to like do this to the best of my ability. Like, let me just fully submit and then just see where it takes me, not really having any expectations or anything like that. So I agreed to go to the bar, didn't drink, didn't smoke. And I actually took all of my gold off because Brother Hamza, your namesake, I guess, right? Yes. Brother Hamza was like, hey, Vern, like as Muslims, like you can't wear gold, bro. And I'm like,
why'd you talk like that?
Hey, that's how he said.
He's gonna see this.
Hey, it's all good.
Okay, so, how did he say it again?
Hey, Brother Vern, like, as Muslims, like, we can't wear no gold. It's haram. And so I'm like, what, for real? So you telling me I can't drink, smoke, sleep with a woman, or wear gold? I'm like, and like to me, like, my dad, like back in the day when he was Mike Tyson's sparring partner, all the pictures I saw, like he was golded out, and even my brother, like he wears like 4 rings on each finger, big chains. Like, so to me, like I look at gold, I'm like, at least back then I was like, oh man, like gold is like, I'm gonna always wear gold. Right. And so I'm like, man, all right, I guess I'm gonna submit. So I took all my gold off, put it away somewhere. And I went out with my friends and like, wasn't wearing anything special. And the way I describe it to you when I tell the story is I went out naked, not physically, obviously. I wasn't trying to go to jail that night, but
you didn't have all of these extra things.
No, I wasn't, my mind wasn't altered, and that's what they tell you. Alcohol. Like, in order for you to, really get in the vibe, like you got to drink and you got to smoke. Like that's just prerequisites at this point. And I wasn't wearing my gold. But my outfit was like, okay. And, but I just didn't have any of the doohickeys I'm used to, the things that I felt like, this gives me a little oomph.
Right.
And it was the craziest experience ever because I had my ears open. Like, obviously, probably not the craziest thing that happened in my life, but like a moment that I'll never forget.
Amazing.
And I walk into the bar, just thinking it was just going to be kind of like a regular scene, regular vibe, which it was. And, people were out socializing with their friends, and I walk in and it was almost like a movie. Like, can you think of like a scene in a movie, like where like a kid walks into the cafeteria and like it's the room stops and everybody's staring at them, or like the room just stops and people are just kind of like staring? Well, that's kind of the moment that I had. And I'm sitting there like time looks frozen to me, but I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on? And it's like, I'm scanning the room and like and mind you, like I never really had a problem like getting girls, like you know, like in my college days and stuff like that. But this was kind of different because it just seemed like every woman in the room was just kind of looking at me, like, or like doing that thing where like they'll tell their friends to look, but don't be obvious and stuff like that. And I saw that in the entire room, and I kept seeing, I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on? Like, I don't have any of my bells and whistles on.
Right.
And then it got really weird when like dudes were walking up to me and they were just like, hey dude, like, I don't even know like what it is about you, but you just got an aura about you. And like, yo, like, can I buy you a drink? And I'm like, no, I don't drink. But I'm just like, and so I'm just kind of like sitting back, like, while, and then like, it kind of goes back into reality. And like, I'm just kind of like sitting there like, OMG, did I just have like my first like Islamic, like, boom, like mind blow experience? And that's kind of what happened, was like I gave up that little bit, and I felt that a lot that the thing that everyone was seeking happened as soon as I gave up the things that they tell you that you need to have in order to receive that.
Wow.
And so then I got addicted. Then I just got really, truly addicted to like submitting, you know, and I'm not like perfect, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like, I do it in like baby steps, you know, and even like how I like learn the religion, I do stuff in baby steps. Like I've always been a slow learner, but like now, like this is really like 180-degree difference than where I was last year.
Amazing.
And I just got addicted. And so I'm like, oh snap. Like I gave up gold, and because then I saw the light. Like then that's when I realized
you didn't
like,
really need these things.
Yeah. And if I can just one tidbit, like I always talk about the analogy that I give with like living in the castle, and like how people chase these like worldly things. So I say like that experience kind of gave me this vision of like me living in this castle, and you know, I got my liquor, I got my drugs and alcohol, you know, I got women, I got like whatever, like I got free will basically, and I'm living in this castle, and then I think that I have everything that I want, and I'm in this castle like, woo, like, yeah, you know, life's great, but still pursuing, you know, something, because I still didn't feel super adequate. I still felt like I was lacking, you know, but still I'm in that castle for the most part, like, yeah, you know, I'm chasing and I'm living it up, whatever. And then just imagine, and by like theoretically, it's like you get this this thing that smashes the castle, breaks it, crumbles it into a billion different bits. And for me, that boulder that crashes into the wall is Islam.
Yeah.
And so you're like,
it's as if the rug is removed,
the veil is removed.
Right.
And then, you know, you know, everything that you knew, all of the things that you valued highly just mean nothing anymore. And then you just look around you, and because at first you're kind of like shocked. You're like, oh, my stuff is gone, my castle. Oh my goodness.
Who am I?
What is like, yeah, what is going on? And then you look up after trying to pick up all the pieces and, you know, not succeed. And then you look up and you're just living in this pasture, the most beautiful pasture that you've ever seen in your entire life.
Reality, truth.
Yeah. But then beyond that pasture, in the horizon, right? Because now you're in your pasture, you're seeing like, whoa, I was missing out on this, and I was chasing this. Wow. Like I thought that I had this here the whole time. But in the horizon, you see all of these other castles, and you see people living in these castles, chasing these things. And so and so now I'm sitting here like, whoa, like, oh my goodness, like I found something that like the thing that everybody wants to feel by pursuing all these things, and then having all these things, like having the cars and the big house, and then the woman that'll let you have other women, and having multiple women, and just not caring. Like once I
the pleasure and happiness.
Yeah. And I got all of that
lasting happiness.
Yes, perpetual happiness. I finally got it once I gave all of that stuff that was supposed to give me happiness up. Wow. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. Let me see if I can put this in the right words, because this is mind-boggling, and I want people to really truly understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not man of many words, so let me try. What you just said is profound, and the reason why I find that profound is that whenever the audience that is watching, when they think about it the way you just described it, they too will have a profound light go off in their mind. And that's why I really want to focus on this. What you just said is amazing. And the way I interpret it is this, that society, you live in society and you just live in society, following society. When you don't have principles that you're following, like in Islam, we follow principles and we follow structure, right? But when you're living society without Islam, you're literally following whatever society deems good, whatever society says this is what you should be like, this is what you should have, this is what you should pursue. So the big houses and the luxuries of life, the material world, money to buy those things. So you waste your health to buy these things that give you momentary happiness, momentary happiness, not lasting. But you kill your health to pursue that money to buy these things, and then now you need health, so you use that money to buy that health. And this is because of society. Society encourages this. Society teaches us this. Society says this is what you should pursue your whole life. This is what the meaning of life and the purpose of life is to have everything that is good and pleasure for the material world. And you create a facade. You create persona, you create a personality around those things that society deems good. Right? And so what you do is you chase after these things and you build up this thing that you want society to look at and see. How you see yourself in society is what you project onto yourself. And so, you live that life, but is that really you? The guy who chases after these women to have more women so you can get more respect. The guy who goes out and hangs out with their friends and drinks alcohol to look cool. The guy who does, because alcohol is not good for you. Alcohol can hurt you and kill you. Alcohol does kill people. The majority of people are dying because of drunk accidents, DUIs. So people are drinking and then driving their cars and are killing people and are harming people. It kills your liver. It harms you in ways you can't imagine, and it takes away your rationality. You're not thinking properly, and so you go out and you're sleeping with girls, and then you get all of these sicknesses. So it's a really bad thing. But we do these things because society says to do all of these things. And before I come back to you, what you said is profound, and I want to get to that. All of these things and the personas we create, what you call a castle is really the persona that society help you create. And once that is smashed, which is what you did, you see the true self, the real you, not what society built up, but the real you, who doesn't require any of those things that society says this is what you should do. And the moment you look at yourself in the mirror at that moment, that changes everything, because you now know you never needed any of these, and that society was tricking us to chase all of these things that are materialistic and not focusing on the soul, which is something that we should have been doing anyway. And what Islam does, it changes all of that and gives you a structure on how to focus on the soul as the foundation. Once you focus on the soul and you purify the soul, you connect it to its creator and the right frequency, then you are whole. And, that's when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Yeah, I appreciate this. I appreciate who I have become. I know who I am and not the persona that society deemed is good, or helped me create. And that's the profound experience you had. And the reason why I really wanted to bring that out in the way I did is so that the audience and whoever is watching, perhaps it's time for them to reflect in the same manner and to really look deep within them to see, am I living life according to what God wanted me to do? the way God wanted me to live. Because majority of the times the answer is no, we are living according to what society says is good. And it's good that we give this type of reminder to our brothers and sisters that are out there so that they can take some time and look at the mirror so that they can see the picture that is being projected back, and so please continue. But I just wanted to really highlight that because you said something absolutely profound.
No, thank you, brother. And once Islam like broke those walls down, it turned from a castle into a prison. I realized that castle was only a prison.
Wow.
And just to kind of like go back and I thought of this.
What a profound statement. Go ahead.
Alhamdulillah.
When you say alhamdulillah, what does that mean, by the way?
Praise and thanks be to Allah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The creator of the heavens and the earth.
Amen.
Just so that the audience can understand.
Yeah.
Continue.
I've been watching there's a YouTube channel, freeQuranEducation.com.
Yeah,
so I've been studying. I watched that video
awesome.
the other day. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what alhamdulillah really means. So
that's right.
Alhamdulillah that I watched that video.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
But yeah, just to even kind of show you like how sick we are as a society. And like, even I didn't process this until you and I were having that conversation outside the masjid at like 11:30 or 12.
Yeah.
And we were talking. I'm like, you know what, man? I didn't even really think about this, but think about the very first, and maybe you've never, tried drinking or smoking or anything like that. You don't even have to divulge that. But I remember the very first time I took like a sip of beer.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is disgusting. Like, why would anyone ever try it? Like, this is foul. How do people drink this?
Mm-hmm.
First time I took a shot of alcohol, I almost vomited on myself. I'm like, this is even more disgusting than beer.
Yeah.
How do people drink this stuff?
Uh-huh.
The first time I smoked a cigarette, I said, my throat burned for 2 days.
Right.
My breath just felt like it just stunk perpetually. It just everything about all of those three experiences were terrible.
Yeah.
The first time I was high off of marijuana,
mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm like, this is not that great. Like, I feel kind of disoriented.
Right.
But the reason why I continued to do it was because I said, all of the older kids are doing it.
All
of the adults are doing it.
Must be cool.
I have to condition myself to get used to this.
Right.
Even though I know that if this is my natural body reaction, this cannot be good for me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it because everybody else is doing it. And in order to be an adult that can schmooze with the best of them, you gotta be able to smoke a cigar and not cough. And you gotta be able to drink and do that. And maybe that's not my direct thought process with it.
Yes.
But still, I was saying like that had to have been the thought process.
Yes.
Because it's like because everybody in high school is doing it. So if I'm going to be able to keep up with my friends, I gotta get used to it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And so we're trained
and conditioned
in condition to think that these are the things that you have to do.
Right.
And it immediately hurts you. Like, it's not even like a delay to, like, you do it. And like the first time it's like, this is terrible. Like,
but yet we still do it.
We still do it until you're conditioned to think that it's something that provides you therapy.
And you must do it. Yeah.
Hold on. Did you hear that, bro?
Yeah.
You think you're conditioned to do something that hurts you and you feel like it hurts you until you convince yourself that it's therapy.
Wow.
You get home from work and now beer is,
that's my therapy.
Yeah, that's my therapy.
I'm going to relax now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm going to go home and smoke some weed. Oh yeah. I feel way more creative now. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
It's really funny. And just like that's social engineering at its finest. Isn't that wild?
We've been conditioned.
Yes.
But most of the people in life do not reflect the way you reflected and the way we are reflecting. And that's why I believe that this episode of the podcast is going to be hugely beneficial for people because it now gives them an opportunity to reflect and to take a step back and really truly look at why do I do the things that I do. And majority of the times, there are many issues that we've never faced in our lives. And it's waiting for us. It's never going away. and we need to face those things. And society has says, you've got all of these issues. Here's a getaway for you.
Yeah.
A getaway card. When you go home, take a beer, maybe two, relax, drink a little bit, smoke a little bit. And this is how you relax and get away. And then when media gets involved and movies get involved, and all of a sudden,
cool.
all of a sudden it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what's, I think media is the thing that pushes the new things. Media is kind of like the guidance, I think, for societal condition.
Yeah.
And media helps people and drives things that society wants us to be conditioned under. The reason why I say that is because if you look back at the movies and television back in the days, 20s, 30s, 40s, women used to have to cover up to a certain extent. They couldn't wear what they wear today on television.
No chance.
And there was organizations from the government that would actually ticket those people who show things that are deemed inappropriate, which is now totally free and clear. You could show all of that now. But society was different at that time. And then the media kept pushing the envelope, something called we're pushing the envelope. And every year they would push the envelope more and more and more. And it has helped us reach this place. So in every society, there has to be a guide, something that guides them to whatever direction that they want us to go, right? And so it helps push society and condition society by making things cool according to the people and the ones that they follow, their idols, movie stars and so forth. These are your idols. When you see your idols doing these things, you want to follow them and be like them, right? To the point where cigarettes back in the days were deemed good for you, literally. And you would see, people smoking it on horsebacks and looking cool and all of that.
Masculine.
Yeah, masculine and stuff like that. This is, you want to be a man? This is the way to be a man.
Yeah.
Right? But this is what society conditions us to. And later on, we discovered this was actually horrible and bad for your health. And most of the times they knew this, but they still push this towards us. So to break those chains of societal conditions, which is very difficult to do, but you did it, which is why I think it's beneficial for people who are watching to see your story, because once you break those chains, you change as a human being. You become a better human being. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just funny, man, because you think that you're giving up.
Let me add to it so that you have something else that you can add to that. Once you've seen this, you recognize this, you called it from a castle to a jail,
to a prison,
a prison.
Yeah.
And that's when you see what society truly is. You've built with, the imagery you use is profound, bro. So within this prison, you created a castle. That's what society helps you create, a castle, a beautified castle. And in the center of it, you say it's prison. And once it all breaks down, the only thing that's left from the castle is the prison. I want you to dive into that and explain that and break that down in contrast to Islam and what Islam has done for you.
Yeah. So just for clarification, the entire time it's a castle until you see the pasture, and then you see everybody else is living in a prison. That it changes, the perspective shifts. Wow. Because the whole time, until you're still picking up the pieces, oh no, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that. And then you look around and you thought you had a castle, but then you look at the outside of everybody else's walls and they're just living in a prison.
Wow.
So in their mind, they're living in a castle. But in reality, they're limited, but they think that they have everything.
Wow.
But now I'm free. I'm actually a free man now. And it's whoa. But I was just tied to that.
For the benefit of the people who are watching, when you say a prison, I want to expound on that.
Please.
Are you speaking about exactly what we just talked about, which is the societal conditions?
Basically.
and being chained, the societal chain, being a prisoner for society and following society's, every say, or what they deem to be good, or what you should pursue. Is that the chain and the prisons that you're talking about? Break that down.
Yeah. So I would even liken it to somebody who was like just imagine if someone was like born into like a cage, or born in a house and they were never able to leave the house.
Yeah.
So the only thing that they know is that house. So everything that is valuable to them in that house is all that they know. And since they've never been outside and doesn't know that anything exists beyond that home and the things that they're married to in that house, they don't know any better.
Wow.
They don't know any better. So that's what. So it's the societal way that they force you to think, or the way that you're conditioned to think, the way that they've conditioned you to think.
Right.
It's the attachment to material goods, the ideology of how you must carry yourself to be someone of clout and respect and everything like that. So that's kind of what I was able to realize. And so in contrast to that, once I was able to give it up, I just saw, because before I even get to kind of like even
the contrast,
the contrast of like even becoming a Muslim, like I experienced that prior to, when like I would just get overwhelmed by everything I was seeing on social media. And sometimes I would just have to delete the app for weeks at a time. And then like, I remember the first time I did that, I'm like, oh my goodness, life is so much better without social media.
Wow.
Why am I on this every day? And so then like, I would just do it to where like, whenever I just wanted to tap in, I would have to re-download the app, to tap back in. I would have to go through an entire process to feed myself this poison. But that was the first time when I really had that profound moment, like, wow, like I'm feeding myself poison, mental poison every single day by opening up this app, looking at people who are showing the highlights of their life and the things that they're doing that are making them morally bankrupt.
Highlights.
Only highlights.
The best of the best versions of their life, which is most of the times not true.
Not true at all.
Yeah.
Not true at all. And so we're just, so the only thing I'm seeing on these pages is just people's highlights. And I'm like, oh man, like I didn't go to Turks and Caicos this year. And oh man, like I don't have these clothes. And oh man, like my mom shopped at JCPenney and Marshalls my whole life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, dang, like
I don't have these cars.
Yeah.
I don't have these houses.
Yeah.
I don't have
these type of women aren't really talking to me the same amount that they're talking to this dude. And what do I need to do to get like this dude?
Wow.
And there was a quote that I heard, and it's probably not going to translate too well into the conversation, but it was like something to the effect of like, it takes like 10 insecure people to get together to make themselves feel like they're cool. And all they're trying to do is just imitate the one person that was just doing their own thing the whole time. Wow. And that's how trends get started. One person goes off and does something, and then more people that have a following do it, and their job is
the 9 insecure people follow that one guy, and it becomes a trend.
And then it becomes a trend.
Right.
And so that was kind of like my first taste. And then Islam just took it to a whole different level, because like, I even say this to people. They're like, man, like what made you want to be a Muslim? Yeah. And so like, I guess I give different answers at different times, but like one of the answers that I give is like, so like, you think like affirmations are good, right? Like you think it's just like good to like say like I'm going to be this, or I'm like good things are going to happen to me, right?
Right.
You think time management is good, right? Like you want to have control over your time, right?
Right.
You think yoga is good too, right? Like you think that yoga is going to keep you healthy and it's going to keep you flexible, and you'll have youth and you'll be healthy by doing yoga, right? And then you also think meditation is good, right? Like you think that meditating is awesome. Well, guess what? When you're a Muslim, you have to do all of those activities I just stated.
Wow.
And combined in one activity 5 times a day.
Profound.
5 times a day. So it's funny because like, I remember before I became a Muslim, I'm like, man, like if I could just get a yoga membership at a gym and I could just take like 10 minutes out of my day to meditate every day. Wow. Like I'd be good, Wow. And then it'll just lead into other good things. But then once you become a Muslim, like Allah already took all that stuff. Don't even worry. This is level 1. Allah already took care of all of that stuff for you. And this is like, what? So you're telling me I get to do all of the things that everybody, like, that people actually know are really good things for you.
Right.
You know, after they're done, after they've tried to chase free will their whole life, and then they become woke, and they're like, no, man, you know, I just need to, you know, become like a yoga instructor, and like, you know, I've just found peace in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, Islam, we've been doing that. That's just what we do.
Wow.
So it's already written out. And so now once you start, that's level 1. And then it's like, okay, so now let's get into, you know, cause I'm praying 5 times a day now. So now I'm getting the benefits of that. The yoga, the focus, the affirmations, the connection with God, the meditation aspect
through
of
your
it.
Prayers.
Yeah. Through my prayers.
5 times a day.
5 times a day. And people are like, yo, how do you make time to do it 5 times a day? And like, now I'm just like, to be honest, it doesn't even seem like an inconvenience to me whatsoever. To be honest, it's an excuse for me to get away from doing something that was probably distracting me in the first place. But second of all, I'm like, well, God, Allah does so much for you.
Right.
You telling me that you can't, that you can't give like 10, like what it would probably be a total of like 30, 40 minutes at max. You know what I mean? Like, you can't give a little bit of time, you know, every couple hours just to meditate, do yoga, and do all this stuff, something that's going to help you and make you feel good once you finally lift your head up.
Right.
Come on, man.
Maybe 25 minutes out of the day.
Yeah.
Out of your whole 24 hours.
Right.
To God.
Yeah. And it's only helping you. And so then we kind of can let's just touch on
when you say it's only helping you, what you're saying is that it doesn't benefit God at all. Because to be God is to have everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't need anything.
Yeah.
So really, who is it benefiting? It's you.
It's only benefiting you. And it's just providing the guidelines to help you do things that only, like, the thing that I really loved about Islam, like how you described it to me. Like, I think it was one of the first conversations we had. You were like, Islam is really just keeping you from doing things that hurt you. Like, it keeps you from hurting yourself. You phrase it in some way like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
It makes sense.
And then the more, like, and the longer I become a Muslim, I even say now, like, Islam is such a glass half full religion.
It's true.
Like, we can go and like we can make $1 million. Alhamdulillah. We could drive down the road and pop a tire. Alhamdulillah. Like,
say
what?
That in English.
You make $1 million. All praise and thanks be to God. Yeah. You know, you drive down the road and pop a tire. And you got to pull over to the side of the road. All praise and thanks be to God.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
And it's just like, dude, how do you stay this positive? But that's the Muslim community. Like, that's just how we think. Yeah. And so, and I'm gonna kind of like, I'm gonna wrap this up in just a second.
No problem. Take your time.
But like, even now, like, giving up like drinking and smoking. Mm-hmm. I have so much more money. I have so much more bread to just like enjoy my life with. And like,
all that money you would have been wasting on all these
wasting
things, you now save.
Wasting. Wow. Wasting. Would not have, man, since I become a Muslim, like, I've started a business. Wow. I make like almost double than what I was making beforehand.
Wow.
I would like literally every facet of my life has gotten better because Islam, because I submitted, because Allah guided me and willed me to submit.
Yes.
And every single aspect got better.
Yes.
And everybody's just like, dude, like, I just can't imagine giving that up. Like, because even now, like, let's just go to women. And that'll be the last one I touch on. It's like, dude, I just remember, like, I would be in like college and even a little bit after college and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When I didn't have a girlfriend, like, I would be in girls' DMs, you know, trying to just like say things to just get them to like go out, just always just trying, you know what I mean? Like, now they say like, shoot your shot. So I was shooting my shot.
Right.
And not really thinking about like how that impacted my reputation, how that impacted my health, because you're not always going to get more no's than yeses. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless you're like an NBA player, probably. Right. Mm-hmm. And so now that Islam, like it teaches me to like lower my gaze, you know, and have a respect for women and not pursue women in that light and to just accept them for their essence. Like, Man, Islam is just it just makes total sense. Like
Yeah.
if you just try, it literally makes total sense.
That's amazing. And it's interesting what you said earlier, which is that it had a profound effect on your life, and not in just one area, but many areas of your life.
Every single one.
Every single one. And one of the things you talked about is how people run around in life, and the people who they claim to have peace or found peace through these acts of meditation and doing yoga and doing all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
All of this was given to the Muslims 1400 years ago through Prophet Muhammad.
Mhm.
And the creator of the heavens gave a prescription to mankind
Mhm.
the way a doctor would give a prescription to people.
Wow.
Right? And he says, take time out of your day to make 5 daily prayers. It will benefit you. And when we do it, we realize the immense pleasure, happiness, peace that comes from these things. While society is running this way and running this way, all they had to do was just stop for a moment and take a look at this book called the Quran, where 1400 years ago, it was sent through a prophet, Muhammad, may peace be upon him. And he taught us this amazing, incredible way that will give you an everlasting happiness.
Mhm.
Unlike the happiness that you get from the material world, which is what society pushes, right? And so I found that profound when you said that. And connecting that to the prison that you spoke about. If people had took time to break out of that prison, to really look deep within them, to get rid of the facade and the persona that society helped them build, to free themselves from the chain of following the traditions of society, and then take on salah, the prayer, which is what gives them that peace, the tranquility that is found only by worshiping the Creator, the one and only true Creator that created the heavens and the earth. And if people did that, and they broke through those chains and those prisons, they would find the happiness that they are looking for.
Yeah.
But majority of the people will never take the time to actually do that.
And can I tell you, if
please.
I can,
Please.
So my theory on it,
yeah,
right, is that why would they, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to follow the path of least resistance as humans.
Right.
We're lazy creatures by nature. We want to just kind of like take life easy, right? That's why we always dream of retirement.
Right.
So what's easier than just following what somebody else did and not putting any type of brain power into questioning that train of thought and trying to figure out who you are? Because that's hard.
Wow.
It takes no brain power to just see someone on Instagram and follow exactly what they're doing. It takes brain power, courage, failure over and over. And I cannot even tell you how many times like I have failed with all of my phases and trying to find who I am and things like that, and getting ridiculed for it. But I was just always on the search of inner peace and trying to find who I am and what my purpose was and how I can live my best life.
Amazing.
But it was easy for people to just follow. So why would, if you want the easy life, why would you ever try and figure out who you are? That takes too much work, bro. That takes years of dedication, like unwavering dedication.
That's right.
And I'm 24, 25. So just imagine, like, that's my entire being of trying to pursue that. So 20, about to be 25 years of ridicule and trying things until I finally got it. But now I feel great. Now I'm like where I wanted to be.
You know, you said something amazing. profound. Like I mean, this whole podcast is just really profound. I mean, when people sit down and they actually listen to this, they're gonna find really powerful things that you've said today. But one of the things you just said, bro, is the the when people go through all of these things, it's easier for them to follow other people, and perhaps maybe it'll be easier to blame other people later. you know
Wow, I didn't think about that.
Maybe when they go in front of God, they think that they can just blame someone else. Oh, we followed him when God gave us the intellect necessary, to and the rationale necessary to do our own research, in life and in religion, right? Who God is. This is something that we all have to do, when we have to use our reason and rationale to come to the conclusion who is the true ultimate God, and not to follow what our forefathers have done. And this is something, by the way, in the Quran, Allah repeats often. And it is shown through the story of Abraham, where his father used to follow his people. And he was the person who used to create the statues idols that they used to worship. In the Quran, it talks about this, that Abraham's father used to create these things and then they used to worship it. Oh, wow. The very thing he created with his own hands, they would worship. And so he would ask his father, why are you worshiping that which you created with your own hands? It can neither hurt you or do anything for you. And so people just follow what their forefathers did, and they are emotionally attached to these religions without ever giving it the rational thought. Why am I following this? Why do I believe this? Does it make sense? And if there's something else out there to compare it to, what should I compare it to? And I think when it comes to the personal, and people following, not the religion part, but the personal, when people follow other people in society because they got nice cars, they have nice jobs and whatever, and they're doing this, they're drinking alcohol, they're hanging out with women. People want to follow these things because that's what society puts on a pedestal. And it says this is what you should be like. But to face the true you means you have to go through demons. You really have to go through the dark places, the dark you, the person, the persona, the person you've been building all of this time, the prison, the darkness of the prison. You have to break all of those things, and you have to look at yourself, and you have to stare yourself and the demons within you and break through. And nobody really wants to, you see, and nobody really has the guidance to be able to do so. What Islam does is it allows you and it gives you a different path, a guidance that helps you and guides you and gives you principles and specific instructions on what to do on your daily life. And this is why Islam is easy, because once you get those and you put those in place in your life, it becomes like a guard. Islam guards you from all of the evils that would come your way. You see, Islam is the middle path. And so I say this because many people are scared to face that. I say this because many people are emotionally attached to things in religions that they've never looked up.
Right.
Never looked up.
Ding, 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 ding. Before I became Muslim.
Right. And many of my friends are like that, right? And they've never taken the time to reflect. And unfortunately, whether they know it or not, they are emotionally attached to these things because they grew up with it and they've seen their parents doing it. And in the Quran, Allah repeats constantly, He says, do not follow your forefathers. And when Abraham argued with his father didn't have a good reason on why they were following idols that they created with their own hands. He simply says, because this is what we've seen our forefathers do. And because we have that ego within us, and we don't want to change, and we're emotionally attached to this, we don't want to leave this emotional thing that we're attached to, which is religion. And if that is a false religion, the the back end of that is that you are worshiping the wrong God. And if you're worshiping the wrong God, the true God is waiting for you when you die, and you're going to have to face him.
That's
And
a scary thought.
That's
man.
a scary thought, bro. And saying that I followed my forefathers isn't gonna be a good reason for
Yeah.
God. God gives you the reason. The fact that we're able to talk about this, and then now people are able to watch this and have this conversation and listen to this conversation and be able to reflect on their life and what they're doing in their life, and reflect on, have I really rationally, intellectually looked into the reasons why I believe what I believe, and have I put it aside and looked at other ones and see why mine is the best? Right? Because if it's true, it will actually be better.
Yeah.
In comparison to everything else.
If it's true, then
if
why?
It's true.
Yeah. Why not?
You have no fear.
Yeah.
You have no fear.
Exactly.
Which is why it's important to go out there and actually experiment and look into other faiths, knowing that if you have the true thing, you have nothing to worry about.
There we go.
And I fear that many people, because they are attached emotionally, they'll never do it. If you ask them, why do you believe what you believe? They'll tell you, because even though they don't know it, they've just heard it. They've been conditioned by their pastors or whatever. And they believe what they believe simply because they are emotionally attached, and it's not an intellectual. Because remember, if it's intellectual, then it can change.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's emotional, it can change.
Mm.
People, when they're attached to things emotionally, they don't want to leave it alone, because for them, emotionally, that will crumble their very self, who they really are.
Wow.
But intellectually, if you actually viewed it intellectually, which is what Islam tells us to do, Islam says, look, read, understand, learn, compare.
Yeah.
Islam says that.
Yeah.
So Islam allows us and gives us the opportunity to look into these religions and learn about these religions, because we believe it's the truth. And so if it is the truth, it will stand any criticism.
Yeah.
But you don't take it wholeheartedly simply because you've seen your parents do it, or you've seen your grandparents do it, and your forefathers do it, simply because you're now that the parents took you to the synagogue or the church or the mosque, and you simply just follow. Emotionally, you are now attached to all of those acts and the rituals, and you think it's true because you're emotionally attached to it, but you've never done the research. You've never done the intellectual research necessary to know whether what you believe and follow, and you have been following all your life, is true or not. And this is why I urge everyone, take the time to really do the research, because you can't just say, I believe something emotionally, without really actually doing the research.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing to do.
That is a dangerous
That is
thing.
dangerous on all levels. Like,
why do you think that's dangerous?
I mean, man, it's just like when there's no thought required. I mean, we got to even break it down to, like, if you get upset, right? And you don't have any type of awareness of how your emotional actions are going to affect your reality that you're living in.
Interesting.
So when you don't take a second to just remove yourself from your angered self, and say, oh man, like, if I do this, I could probably go to jail. I could probably lose my life and in rotten jail over one bad day.
Wow.
And it's just funny to me, because people will look at Islam or just religion, period, and they'll say, oh man, that's too monolithic. Everybody, like, they're just going to try to control you, man. That's a monolithic way of thought. Like, they're like that's slavery. Like, religion is corrupt. Why would I follow that?
Right.
But it's just about as monolithic as you following Instagram of followers
and society.
And it's not even monolithic. There are so many different personalities with Islam. It's just the only thing monolithic about it is that we police each other from doing things that hurt ourselves and society that surrounds us.
That's right.
It's right. And it's just sad, man. Like, it really makes me sad that like we don't. It makes sense, because why would I do research? My brain has to think, I have to think about this now.
Right.
Dude, I got more important things to do. I got to chase dunya with the
Right.
world. You know, I got to chase the world. I got to chase dunya, man. I don't got time to look into religion. I don't got time to look at myself in the mirror, man. I gotta get this money. I gotta get these women, you know. I gotta be the dude with all the bottles. Like, I don't know what
slaving away
to
society.
Don't even know that you're slaving.
Wow.
Don't even know that you're a slave.
Again, profound.
Dude, it's wild, man.
So if you would advise anyone out there who might be listening to this, would you advise them to break the barrier of emotionally connecting to things and to start doing intellectual research?
Of course. Of course. I mean, I think that's how obviously there has to be some degree of you know, wit from your emotions, like I feel this is the right thing, but a lot of the best decisions, being intrinsic, a lot of the best decisions that you can make are based on data and based on research.
True.
You know?
True.
Now, you know, if you try to manipulate that data and research into being in your favor, then that's a completely different story. But you have to do the due diligence to it only takes a little bit of brain power. I just want to say the quote because it'll apply. Sure. You know, if you just take one step towards Allah, he'll take 10 giant steps towards you.
Facts.
And I'm a personal testament of that. I was the guy that was doing all of the wild stuff. Wow. I wouldn't call myself like the biggest follower in the world, but I didn't know that I was actually inadvertently being a follower.
Yes.
And it's like, man, like, dude, now that I don't concern myself with because once you kind of start doing it, it doesn't take long for you to just kind of like get used to it. Yeah. And because for the things that you give up, like that void that'll be there very, very, very temporarily will be filled with a bigger blessing. Like I cannot, like that void of giving up drinking and smoking has been filled with so many other, like it's like you gave up one thing and then like 10 different greater things just came and filled its place.
Amazing.
And it's like, oh man, well maybe I shouldn't drink no more because this is pretty darn great. You know, maybe I shouldn't smoke no more because this is pretty darn great.
Yeah.
I've gotten time management skills because now I'm doing things based around salats, you know, waking up, going to sleep at good times, like all of the responsible adult things that
you're
people
living with a purpose.
With a purpose. Yeah. People praise him. Oh man, yeah, you know, I got to do this so I can get this money.
Right.
Dude, maybe if you stop, like I've never had this much money and I'm just man, I'm sorry. I'm about to do one of those things, man. Cause like now, even now, like I've been around like people under the influence after I stopped drinking and smoking. And like, I'm literally sitting there in awe, like that same like removal from my body, like that third person, that out of body situation I had when I stepped into the bar happened like a few times, like when I've been around like inebriated people. And I'm like, I seriously thought that this is how a good night is supposed to go.
Wow.
Like I really sat there. I really believed that.
You were fooled to believe.
I was fooled to believe. And so now it's like when I talk about Islam to people, I just say, man, like, do you ever sometimes feel powerless to just like society? Like you just feel like you're just so far behind. I feel like I got my power back once I became a Muslim.
Wow.
I feel like I've truly never felt like
you
like if there's not a drug that I've ever consumed that can compare to the feeling that I have being a sober-minded Muslim.
Yeah.
It is truly like it gave me my power back, dude.
That's amazing. And you found peace.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, I hope that everybody benefits from this. We've been going for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. These podcasts are usually about an hour.
Wow.
This is the biggest one that we've done, hour and 40 minutes almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it shows you we're not even halfway done. Like we could conversate and talk about this for hours.
Man.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think at some point we have to end it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like all good things that have to come to an end, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know, I thank everyone for being here. I think if if the people request, inshallah, we can do part two. But for now, I think we could probably end it here. What do you say?
Hey, I say let's do it.
All
That's
right,
perfect.
inshallah.
Thank you for your time.
No, I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for making the time for us. I know you're busy. We've got all of these amazing things going on in your life. I ask Allah to continue to bless you, and I ask Allah to make things easy for you and continue to guide me and you. I just want to share with you, man. It's been absolutely lovely knowing you, being your brother, and you enhanced my life as I enhanced your life, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
No problem.
Thank you.
And for all of the people who are watching, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And thank you for joining us today. It's been an amazing podcast. Really had an amazing time with our brother Vern, and just profound ideas, profound thoughts. I really felt like he blessed us today. And,
wow.
may Allah bless him and continue to bless his life. And thank you all for being with us. Until next time, Jazakallahu khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and guide all of us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings be upon all of you. Until next time.